realized, hey, we just hit mark of 59,000 subscribers. It took a while, I believe almost like, I don't know, 3 months, maybe 4 months. We were moving from 58 to 59,000. So I decided that today kind of like a perfect time. No one is home. Both my kids are working right now. They got a job at the local beach, Silver Beach in St. Joe. So they're rangers there. And so yeah, I can do the live and answer your questions. Anything relates to the Soviet life in the Soviet Union, modern situation in Ukraine. Okay, I was wondering for a second, maybe I did some messed up on my settings for this live because there was no one for a second. Looks like people are joining. Hello, thank you for joining today. And once again, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Really nothing new in Ukraine. Like on my side, my parents doing okay. Just talked to my brother a couple days ago. Mom wants him to come and visit, but my mother lives in the northern Ukraine, pretty much quite close to the border with Russia. And that village always was like kind of on a, no one cared about that village, even during the German occupation. They had no problems, Germans and locals. And this time, Russians rolled by. Sure, you can ask questions about life in the USSR. Yeah, this is what this whole channel is about. So anyway, now they started shooting again from Russian side, but Mom's village is too far, really, for them to reach, or there's nothing really going on. There was never Russian or Ukrainian soldiers. So, all right, if you have any questions, I'll be looking at those. What do you think about the rise in shoplifting in Russia? I mean, it's a normal situation when people have less and less money and or inflation started eating up their income and prices become too expensive to buy, so people start stealing. I saw they started installing these anti-theft devices on the baby formula and other stuff. Um, it's kind of interesting that it actually they managed to have this supermarket system installed in the former Soviet Union, because during my days back in the Soviet Union, uh, we had only a little bit of that because they were concerned more about people stealing stuff. They could afford to have more sellers, so we all most our stores were deli style. That you come to the Prilava counter and you order cheese, you order so much bologna, and they'll cut you, 500 grams or a kilogram. So I'll be looking here on my big screen to see your questions. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, the regular people in Russia already struggled before the war, and now it just get worse. Of course, you need to keep in mind with the sanctions, they got way less goods. Goods became more expensive. I don't know. Just today, I noticed people started stealing like car lights. Break instead of stealing a car, they bust in the lights. And since there's a shortage of spare parts, so if somebody's light broke, they can't buy it, so they have to steal it. It's just like those stories about Soviet Union and the wipers. If you remember, I talked about it. Like no one in Soviet Union who owned a car would drive with wipers on, only if it's raining. Otherwise, they'll be in your glove compartment. So that will be this interesting situation when you see the cars on the road and it started raining. A lot of cars will pull over. People will stop and install their wipers and keep on driving, because if you park your car, the wipers will disappear almost right away. Okay, so let's look at your questions here. Have you seen any 1420 videos? No, I don't. I have plenty of friends in Russia and Ukraine, so I talk to them directly. So I really and I follow that media, so I don't really follow bloggers from Russia, because pretty much I'm aware about what's going on from. And when people, when a stranger stops you on the street and start asking you questions, it's not always you're gonna get the truthful answer, because they're wondering, hey, maybe I'll get in trouble. So I prefer talk directly to people who like Telegram app. I get more direct more truthful answers that way. For example, I just got information that in Krasnodar region, so that's a southern Ukraine, they advertise everywhere contract service. So they call in young guys and not young guys to join military on a contract. So they'll pay you money to go fight. He said he never seen so many banners. It's like any advertising banner. It's all about join the army, do your duty. Putin doesn't want to do the mobilization, so they're trying to work through the contracts. By the way, thank you for joining. Whoever joined right now, don't forget to click like. Hopefully, we'll push this live stream a little bit up higher on the YouTube because I'm being shadow blocked so badly. It's crazy. There's so many videos I make about life in the Soviet Union, but if you Google life in the Soviet Union, there's so much stuff comes up and never my videos. So, all right, back to the questions. What was life as a middle class? Well, we didn't really have a middle class in the Soviet Union. We had only like people, apparatchik, Communist Party leaders, factory leaders. So they were, people had access to goods. Then we had people who in America, they consider like real not doing well. It's like waitresses, taxi drivers, people who work in retail. In Soviet Union, those were the best jobs you could get because you could steal or you can do other things. So like waitresses were actually making more money than engineers or even making more money than a Communist Party leader because they could make up to $1,000 a month by doing. I have a videos about it. You can look it up. So yeah, I pretty much the equality in the Soviet Union was achieved by making everyone poor. It was comfortable to be poor in the Soviet Union because we didn't worry about being kicked out of our apartments because housing cost was cheap, wasn't free as a lot of people say, but it was inexpensive, like 10% of your income. But otherwise, we were really poor. Anything, you just couldn't afford a lot of things. You had to buy everything on credit. How bad was crime in the first years after Ukrainian independence? It's depending what crime are you talking about. There was a lot, since factories were closing, people were getting depressed because large percentage of population it's like you are catfish, let's say, living in a swamp and you're comfortable, you know what you're doing, everything's good. And then swamp got drained suddenly, and there's this like just a quick river going like a mountain stream. So catfish can adjust, right? So those people who get used to go to work there 8 hours, come home, get a little pay, they steal a little bit here and there. So there was a lot of drinking started going, but the main crime was is people who started doing businesses, like they set up kiosks, started doing retail, selling on bazaars, traveling to Turkey or China, bringing goods. So suddenly we had these rich people, and some people were just become criminals. So there was that type of criminality. There was racketeers, like bandits going after these entrepreneurs, предприниматели. So that was more that type of crime. And then racketeers, they started fighting each other for the areas. So that was more that type of crime. So I personally still wasn't concerned about my safety because I lived in independent Ukraine, well, from 91 to 95 full time. Then I was going, staying in America for 3-4 months every year till 1998. So I never kind of worried about being robbed. But then we started having more like petty criminals, like people were stealing stuff, and you ride on the bus, on the tram, and there'll be pocket pickers, stuff like that. So, the mostly crime is the racketeers, killing each other, fighting each other for areas of influence. So that was that type of crime. Did you went to army? No. I don't know if you see my glasses, my eyesight is really poor. So even for the Soviet army, I was too blind to serve. All right, the first donation, by the way, if you want to support my channel, there is a way you can do donation like Koala 1203 did. There is also, I don't see there's no tips for lives, but this is the way you can support my work, or you can buy my book, American Diaries 1995. 96 is almost ready. I finished translating. I'm going to the final kind of checking things out, making sure everything makes sense. Information about my book is below this video in the comments. Happy early 4th of July, Sergey. Oh, you could tell he's an American. If there'll be a foreigner, he'll say Happy Independence Day. That's always tease Americans. They never say Happy Independence Day. They say Happy 4th. It's kind of interesting. You can always catch Russian spy in America when he says Happy Independence Day, comrade. They're like, yeah, he's a Russian spy. Um, I was wondering what your thoughts on 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. Well, uh, Chinese government definitely managed to squash any democratic uprising, and I think it's what's similar what Putin did in 2012, 2014, when he did this Rakirovka castle in with Medvedev, and then there was quite a bit of uprising in Moscow, and they also were uh, I'm not sure what would how China would go if they will let democracy actually flourish in China. Um, but yeah, the Communist Party they figure out how to run economy like a hybrid type. They run a capitalist economy with the Communist Party in controlling everything. So far it works for them in that regards. I don't know about if the Chinese people actually having a good life. I mean, there's stories of people are so worked up they commit suicide jumping out of buildings, like the places when they assemble iPhones. So it's hard to tell. Uh, it's like there was a student uprising, right? And I mean, we got successful in Ukraine where we managed to get rid of a Russian puppet Yanukovych. But if Yanukovych would remain in power, Ukraine right now probably would be already part of Russia. Okay, and your next question. What did a typical day of work look like in the USSR? Well, in the late Soviet Union, we had 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday. Before, during the Stalin era, was only one day on Sunday, and it depends on family and the location, of course. For the people who live out in the country, like my grandparents, they were working on their own plot where they grow potatoes because every, like peasants, every collective farm worker also had his own. There was a 0.4 acre lot, not acre, hectare. So they had to work for collective farm during the week, and then on the weekend they will catch up with their stuff. But people who live in the cities, like my family, I had to go to school on Saturdays, so I only had Sundays off. But it depends on the family, of course. Some people went fishing. Some people in the summer they would go out of like camping, just take a train. And in the Soviet Union there was no private property, so literally you just go out of the city. You pick a nice spot in the forest, by the lake, by the river, and you just set up your tent and you fish and cook and hang out, drink, of course. Um, so some people on the weekend would just go, like in Kiev, those who had a more cultural, they'll visit theaters or go to the movies, go downtown. So it depends on the hobbies, but we didn't have like people who had a lot of money just to fly somewhere in the weekend, except like I read that some waitresses they will do that. They will fly to Black Sea on like Saturday morning, then fly back on Sunday. The regular folk couldn't afford it, so there was not much to do really. Like my family, when I was a kid, they'll take me to the zoo, for example, or we'll go to movies together, or there will be some like a children's theater. I remember going doing that. But usually, my dad would watch sports on TV if there's any sports, read newspaper. My mom would cook. They clean house, and they'll drag rugs, area rugs outside, and beat the dust out of them. So it wasn't much for entertainment part. So yeah. So yeah, there's a question again. Did you go to school on Saturdays? Yes, my days we went to school 6 days a week, but we only had to go for 10 years. So we lost every Saturday, but we saved at least a year. My parents left Ukraine in 1978. Interesting. So I wonder how they managed to do that. They probably were Jewish because that's the only time people could, that time there's only Jewish people who could leave the Soviet Union. Okay, what else we got here? Sounds like my wife is coming home. Next one, we got people from Canada, by the way. If you don't mind to write which countries you're from, we got about 77 people. Be interesting to see where you guys coming from. Can you please make video on the Soviet Jews? I already have I think 4 videos total. I think maybe there's the way if you enter Ushanka Show Jewish in a search, it should come up. But I have a total of 4 videos on that topic. That army generals had privileges. Of course, army, they could use free labor of the Soviet soldiers to build their dachas. That was a popular way to build their summer homes that using free labor. They had a lot of perks. They had a car they could utilize. Usually, if they had to be moved, they always get housing. They didn't have to wait in long lines. So, yeah, they had plenty of privileges besides official privileges. As I said, personal car, personal driver, and they also had a lot of privileges just to take advantage of free labor. What is your opinions of Soviet people in Yugoslavia? Once again, I already have a video about it. If you look up, check it out actually if it comes up. I'm just curious. Actually, guys, I'll send you a link. There's a really cool video from 1984. It's about family in the Soviet Union that purchased a car, and I found it hilarious. And if you pay attention, you'll see that car then they doesn't have a wiper zone. It's kind of funny. It's on in about 2 minutes 19 seconds in that video, you could see that they drive a car and it has no wipers, just arms. So I don't think he has a translation, but it's just to watch it. It's 1984 in Kirov, which is Russia, Soviet Russia, and that's hilarious because he's like, oh my goodness, I would never pay attention to that. We got people from Michigan. Do you think Putin modeled his style on Reagan? I'm not sure. What do you mean on that? I mean, Reagan was a Hollywood movie theater, and Putin is a former KGB guy who is fluent in German language and some other languages. So I don't think we can actually compare Putin to Reagan. Putin definitely was planning all this war for a long time. I have no doubts about that. So he just wants to restore the Soviet Union back to the borders. You have people just stopping by, learning languages. Let's see what else. What about cholera in occupied Ukraine? Well, when the infrastructure destroyed, no fresh water, people have to use water from the puddles. I mean, there's always, and it's a summer, so everything is warm and hot. I'm not surprised. Have you ever visited Yugoslavia? Unfortunately, not. I had no ability back in the Soviet days to travel abroad. It's one of the benefits that I enjoyed after Soviet Union disappeared. That it actually was possibility to travel to other countries. I managed to go to Poland, although there was a smuggling vodka. I went to Germany and some other countries before I moved to America, France, England. So, but during the Soviet days, it was really hard, especially if you don't have connections. It was very expensive to go. I have some videos about people who traveled. Hello from Minnesota. We got another donation. Thank you so much. Wondering if you're planning to make video about Stanislav Shushkevich. So Stanislav Shushkevich is that one of three stooges that signed the document about dissolution of the Soviet Union. If you're not aware, it was Boris Yeltsin, it was Leonid Kravchuk, and Stanislav Shushkevich. So all three were communists, and they decided that in order to get rid of Gorbachev, the best way, like we can't get rid of Gorbachev, so let's get rid of the Soviet Union. Then Gorbachev will be president of no country. So there's like, if we, if we can't get rid of Gorbachev, let's get rid of Soviet Union. That was Boris Yeltsin idea. I didn't have plans to make the video, but I definitely can look on this topic. Right now I'm working, if you watch my recent video about Romanov, right, Grigory Romanov, I kind of talked about that doesn't matter which driver you will put in the driver spot for the Soviet Union in the early 80s, the car was already on its last leg, and it was just a question of time where that car will break down. And so I started looking up actually, and I'm making right now, there's my notes. This will be a video about what one of the Soviet kind of like higher apparatchiks was after death of Brezhnev. I looked it up. He has a diary. It's a Chernyayev, and he kind of made a list of things he would like to see being done during Andropov. So if you remember, when Brezhnev died on November 10, 1982, next guy became Andropov. Of course, we had this huge election, we had a bunch of advertising for different, no, just kidding. They just told us, hey, your next leader is Yuri Andropov. Don't tell us thank you. So I'm working on this because he actually made a long list, like 15 different bullet points, what needs to be done in the Soviet Union to fix it, improve it. So as I said, the car already had some serious problems. And just a short note, how long does it take you to prepare a video? It depends on the topic. If it's something from my own experience, I can just sit and talk about it. If something I need to look it up, go Russian sources, double check stuff, it could be a couple of days. And then I need to find a time and quiet place to record stuff. And I record in the snippets, 30 seconds, 1 minute. So it takes a while. So yeah, it's a lot of work. But just to give you an idea, he wrote above all those points, the main aim of the new leader of the Soviet Union after Brezhnev, once again, to feed population and restore people's interest to work. So basically, we couldn't feed our population early 80s and people who are interested in working hard. As I said, is one thing that I think killed Soviet Union is extremely low productivity. Just we couldn't produce enough goods because no one cared. People don't like to work for free or being not awarded. So all right, we got another donation from Phil. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Seeing your question. Hello, Sergey. Did people get Western alcohol, Hennessy, Stoli? Well, Stoli is not Western, right? Stoli is Stolichная, so that was ours, into USSR. Did it get easy in the 70s or 80s? We didn't get any alcohol from the West in the 70s or 80s, except we started getting some stuff coming from Cuba. I remember Havana Club was a rum that was able to purchase, was expensive, but it was available. And they also were bringing some alcohol from Egypt. Abu Simbel, I think that was the brand. Abu Simbel, some kind of drink, alcohol drink, like more like a licorice type. So Abu Simbel for Egypt, that's all I remember. We even didn't have alcohol from Eastern Europe. So pretty much it was all domestic vodkas. Moskovskaya, Stolichная, Stoli. So I said Stoli is not a Western brand. The only way you could get Western brand is if you work in Turist. In Turist is иностранный турист, so it's a foreign tourist. So if you work in that system, they had alcohol in their bars. And then, of course, if you can manage to somehow smuggle the bottle out, and you could resell it for a lot of money. But no, I never even seen an empty bottle from the foreign alcohol. Of course, I was too young to be into drinking back then. But no, we had no access. But my dad, I remember he purchased of Havana Club, who had that bottle on our in Busimbel too. It's kind of funny. As a kid, I always had a dream to have a nice bar, and now I have all these opportunities, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. But it would be kind of cool. All right, we got Mickey Chop. So no, unfortunately, and actually, I have a video about the very first Soviet barman. If you look up Ushanka Show barman, it might show up. I said I made so many videos on these topics, and it's just they don't. Google refuses to show up to people. It's kind of quite frustrating. Well, yeah, we got almost 100 people watching, but only 56 likes. So please don't forget to like this video. Okay, Koala, thank you for your donation once again. Another one. Is there an explanation on how Ukraine managed not to fail into dictatorship earlier, unlike what happened in Belarus and Russia, despite having a similar corrupt government? Boy, that's a good question. I think it's mostly because of the Western Ukraine. Those guys, that was pretty much DNA that didn't get corrupted by the Soviet system. The Western Ukraine was under Austro-Hungarian Empire, then later under Poland, so it was never under Soviet Union until after the World War II, and still it took them about 10 years. So like that population is more like freedom fighters, so they kind of brought this love for independence to Ukrainians further east. I mean, Eastern Ukraine definitely will have problems there, but I agree with you. It's quite impressive that the Ukrainians um, I mean, we still elected former communists, which is kind of sad, right? But Kravchuk was a former communist that just repainted colors from red to blue and yellow. Kuchma could barely speak Ukrainian, was a Soviet era factory director. So we were still electing communists, but there was enough of that drive to keep people. Thank you so much, Comrade Kulak Pov Kapitolsky, for your donation. Appreciate it. So yeah, this is really impressive. I agree with you that Ukraine didn't do it. Um, the only explanation will be Western influence because that's what the people kind of came to Kiev and it's got going. You know, I remember actually days when actually I recorded the video. I never posted it. So downtown Kiev, there was a media of Kiev. So like a main office of the Kiev administration, and it's just a giant flagpole. And I remember when the first time they took down the Soviet flag and raised the flag just like behind my back, and there was militia everywhere, militia, police, and they were pushing people away. They ripped that flag down. I still remember those days, and now it's a flag of Ukraine is back, so it's pretty cool. Okay, see what else. We got another donation from Nick Kennedy. How interested are your children in Soviet culture? Do they speak any Russian or Ukrainian? Unfortunately, I don't know if I made a video. No, my kids, they are pretty much, besides their names, my daughter's name is Sasha Alexandra, and my son's name Oliver Nikolai. No, they speak only English. They really don't have any interest. I mean, they're way too young. I mean, they like my stories about life in the Soviet Union, but they have no interest about actual Soviet culture, Soviet lifestyle. But whenever little kids, instead of telling them bedtime stories, they'll be like, tell us about your adventures as a kid back in the Soviet days. I'd had a lot of adventures, even in the city, we've been exploding stuff and stealing stuff. That's how sneaking into closed factories at night and stealing some parts, or sneaking into the construction sites, looking for those. It's like a bullets to shoot concrete nails. So a lot of We got A plus Russian join us. Hello, thanks. Yeah, 59K. We hope we'll get to 60K sometimes, but I was hoping for 100,000 this year, but it's definitely not going to happen. I said for some reason it's just my channel is just being just shadow block hardcore. It's like you would think if you enter any question, like people asking questions about Jewish, and it's plenty 4 videos and bars. Let me see if I can actually start posting links if you have that question on there, because I can get directly off my list of my videos. And whoever joined right now, we got only 69 likes. It's a good number, but we can do better than that because we have 107 people watching. So content, and let's see, bars. So yeah, there is a video about Soviet bars. Someone had a question, so I'll put the link here below. That's the video about the very first Soviet barman that started making drinks and learning how to make drinks for Americans. Paste. It should come up. Oh, I posted twice. I apologize. So this is the link. I mean, we never looked at stealing. It just was just a normal way. Your father steals stuff from the factory, so you steal stuff from places around. Wasn't like a stealing being bad. Like I don't know if you're familiar with carbide, right? Um, if you mix with water, creates this gas acetylene, right, that they use for to cut metals. But if you steal that carbide, you can do a lot of fun things with it. So we didn't steal it. It was just part of the entertainment. Like, hey, we can. You take old boot, put carbide in there and some water, bury it on the ground, poke the hole, lit that gas, and it'll have like a little flame coming out of sand. That was pretty cool. Were there informal working man bars? I mean, you can thank you for your donation, by the way, Mr. Hellman. I like Hellman mayonnaise. They weren't really like working man bars. They were just beer stands. So there'll be beer kiosks, or so people go and only can buy their beer, nothing else. No snacks. You got to bring your own stuff. So there were places that you can go and have beer. They have like a tables that you just stand. They didn't have chairs. It's only like the bar height table that people stay around. It's actually there's a really cool video from like early 90s. Let me see if I can find. I'll put the link. It was hilarious because um, you'll see, and even in the winter, people. I never drank beer, but the problem is also those beer bars. They didn't have bathrooms, and if you consume beer, to get drunk, you need to go and relieve yourself. So usually, areas surrounding that they'll be so smelly because people would just go and find bushes or buildings and they just piss there. And we had problem one time in the area where I lived. Um, they put this beer bar, and the locals end up burning it down twice because it just they just sneak into the apartment buildings and they just piss there. So of course there was this horrible smell. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a link. This is from 1991. Shows you. So this is pretty much. I'm not sure when exactly in 1991 it was filmed. So, but this is kind of gives you idea. They. Oh my God, this is so bad. It's embarrassing. So this is your working man bars, Mr. Hellman, Comrade Hellman, for your request. From 1991, you'll see everything's just so basic, dirty, primitive. It's just like, oh my God. And of course, people who try and, if you work at that place, you're trying to make extra money, you will dilute beer with water and all the good stuff. Okay, what else? Make a video about secret war between Israel and Soviet Union. Well, if you know about that war, it's definitely not secret. Question about channel that explores Pripyat in Chernobyl. Nope, didn't see that. What are the Ukrainian Nazis? They are the phenomena created by Russian propaganda in order to explain why they lost in 2014. Every time somebody kicks the Russian army in the teeth, they call them Nazis. Uh, for example, Finland, if you know, Finland had a swastika. The Finnish Air Force had swastika as their emblem all the way till 2014. Just not long ago, they removed swastika off the plane, and for some reason, Russia had no problem with Finland, and they never called them Nazis, although they had swastika. And then there's also a bunch of pictures of Finnish soldiers that went for training to Germany, Nazi Germany, and they were part of SS. You know, there's the jokes about kid telling in school that my father during World War II, he was in German army, worked as electric. He has two lightning bolts on his collar. So, but every country, of course, he has extreme nationalists. But as I said, the country that elected a Russian-speaking Jewish person as a president, call those people Nazis is just ridiculous. In Ukrainian parliament, there's only one guy who is like a hardcore nationalist. One out of all, I don't know how many, 300 of them, one only made it to parliament. So if you want to talk about Nazis, you need to listen what Zhirinovsky was talking. Talk about Nazis. He's a Russian Nazi hardcore, wants to, destroy and nuke the Ukraine and kill all the people. Do they do fried chicken in Ukraine? Kiev chicken, fried chicken. No, actually, well, first of all, back in the Soviet days, abortions were legal in well, about now, but in the Soviet Union, abortions were legal for a long time. Yeah, there was a lot of abortions during the Soviet days, and a lot of it, of course, because of poor quality of the Soviet condoms, and just generally, as men were kind of like pig, they'll have sex, but then it's up to women how to figure out how to get rid of, not to get pregnant or get rid of pregnancy. So how will Russia integrate pieces of Ukraine into Russia? Yeah, I think we'll be talking about how China will integrate pieces of Russia into China. That is a too big chunk to bite off, as you learn. And if the country that has 1.5% of the worldwide GDP fighting against the United States and Western Europe that has about 50% of world GDP, I don't know how they're going to integrate anything. The question is how long this blood shedding will continue till someone will take care of that person in Kremlin. So, question once again about pubs and bars. I said it's not kind of what you think in bars. We only had like beer halls. Be the probably word, but I said I was 20 when the Soviet Union collapsed, so I never was like into drinking. Actually, I got lucky. We had kind of my friends were all somewhat like nerds like me, so we promised each other never drink and never smoke. We made give hard time to anyone who was trying to start smoking, and so I never got into smoking, thank God. Drinking, of course, I failed. So, all right, so we got another question and donation. Thank you so much for your support to my channel. I'm almost done reading your American Daddies 1995. That's right here. See, I'm the guy, the bigger guy. I'm with Adidas. If you're not sure which guy on this picture is me, it's the guy with Adidas t-shirt. So this is picture taken at Camp Rosenthal. It's actually a photo. Okay, I cheated. The photo is from 1998, but I still Adidas all the way. actual Adidas t-shirt I bought in America for $20. Had to have it, but the jacket is it's a counterfeit Adidas I bought in Ukraine. But yeah, I was all decked out Adidas big time. So, and there's a little quote. If you're still on the fence about buying my book, check it out. This quote right here. John smiled. Let's see. I'll go this way. John smiled, slapped me on the shoulder, and said, "No need to worry, man. You're not white. You are Russian." Yeah, that was pretty interesting. That's how I learned it. And there's no problem for me because I wasn't white in their eyes. I was Russian. That was pretty hilarious. And if you're interested in my book, link is below in the description of this channel. I ordered your book on 12/12/22, just the week before Russia invaded Ukraine. Okay, so February. My goodness, you put the dates interesting way. Yeah, I think I made a little video. I got a postcard came from Russia. A guy mailed it to me on the 2022, and that was this happy Red Army Day or Russian Army Day, and yeah, he mailed basically 2 days before the war started. It was pretty scary. Okay, is drug use common in the current Ukraine? I bet now as people have more money and so more quality drugs started coming in. I had a video about the drug use in Soviet Union. Uh, can you list all Soviet holidays? Sure, I have a video about that too. No doubt about that. Let's see if I can give you a link for that. So now I think I have a video that I listed all most important holidays in the Soviet Union. Top 10 holidays in the Soviet Union. How about that? So we got a video about that too. There's pretty much there's so many topics covered already, but it's not showing up on YouTube. So this is the video about holidays. Was all free in the USSR? Yeah, it was what was free is a ticket to Siberia one way to Gulag camp. Okay. Thank you, donation from Martin Skutans. We know your side of story, how you met your wife. Now we need to know what she found in you. Greetings from Riga. Oh, Riga. Actually, in my second book, I describe a little bit about Riga. We went there back in like 87. Spent about a week. That was really cool. I enjoyed a lot. I was too young to really appreciate it, but it was great. Besides, in Riga, there was a lot of scammers selling bogus fake clothing that looked foreign, but it was made in Riga factories, and they were packing them and they're telling stories that my son is a sailor. He came from abroad to sell you, and it turned out to be junk. We burned on that pretty bad. Bought several ballyhons. What wife found in me? Well, she thought I was funny. I was smart. I was making her laugh, and she knew that even I was at that time, as she said, illegal migrant working at the farm and having no car. Um, she knew that I'm an engineer, so I had a potential. So, and we kind of clicked. It just pretty much after first date, we had a blind date, um, and it was just you know, it's my second blind date ever. One was in Ukraine. It was really awkward, but this one was just like we just liked each other instantly. Started having good conversation. Then when I called her, we're just chatting like we knew each other forever. So yeah, we dated for 6 months, and now we're married for 22 years, 23, 23 years. Yep. So it's one of those rare cases when you just click. I would, I went on that blind date because I was bored at the farm every evening. I was just sitting at the market, people left and I just sit there. So I was like, well, nothing else to do, might as well do it, see what happens. But yeah, I never planned to. I was already, at that time, I was planning to go for Canada, already applied back home. Oh, we got some old friends showing up. Hello, Svetlana. Uh, that's from England, so we got people joining. Hello, my name is Ben Dover. We got a lot of jokes on the net. I actually was trying to make a video for my Russian YouTube channel about all these silly names, style of Ben Dover. I can't think of any other ones. There's a lot of them. If the Soviet Union will never fell, who would you have married? I hope female, but I don't know when. I mean, I had a couple of girls I had crush on back home, but for some reason it didn't click with those. So yeah, I don't know. It's like a lot of times it happens. The girls you really like, they don't care about you, but then other chicks were like all over you, and you're just like, you know, I don't like her. Unfortunately, she likes me a lot. So it's okay. What else we got? Questions. What was the most stupidest thing you had to do in the Soviet Union because it was law? Well, the one law that affected my life in a big way is I couldn't get to the college I wanted to go. So when I finished the 10th grade, it was time to go to college. Of course, that's how basically um, if you're smart guy, you go 10 classes, then you go to college. If you're not that bright, you finish 8 years in school, and then you go to trade school, or you just go into just go to the factory, straight to the factory. Then, of course, you get in military draft. So my cousin, she suggested like, hey, you should go probably. It's best education in the Soviet Union is like when you have access to good goods. So you're a smart guy, you can go to the college that I went. It's the Institut Легкой промышленности, it's called. So it's a college for pretty much like cloth making, processing food. So this is kind of you become engineer for those. Instead, go to like meat processing. So be close to the foods. If you work at the meat factory, like making sausages, whatever, you have access to food. That's a good job in the Soviet Union. So I was like, okay, that sounds great. So I go there. I got my papers. When you submit, I'm about to this level gonna make videos about the education, higher education, the Soviet Union, высшее образование. So I went to that college, they have приемная комиссия, and so first you bring your documents, they look, because they have so-called проходной бал. So they look at your high school papers and they see like what is your average score, just like in America here too, right? So 5 was excellent and 4 is good. 3. So they will have something will be between 4 and 5. It's called проходной бал. Like they don't take anyone. For example, if my scores were like 3.5, there's no chance. You need to go to trade school. You're not a really good pupil. Mine was like 4.8. It wasn't excellent, but was close to excellent. So there was no problem with that. But then you need to bring medical documents. And my poor eyesight, for some reason, I couldn't study and become engineer of food processing because I have poor eyesight. So there was this law. So I was a little bit shocked. I was like, well, where can I go? I didn't know we have this limits. So they gave me the list. I had to go and search for that. I don't remember. So I found out. So for the colleges that we had in Kiev, I pretty much my limit was I could go and become engineer of welding. So I can be a welding engineer with my poor sight. Like your eyes already effed up. might as well do welding, like be a welding engineer, which is it's so dumb, right? So this is your question, stupidest law. So I didn't have the stupid thing to do. Or you can go and study electronics, like a radiotechniczny fakultet, radio technical faculty. So it was pretty much okay. I don't really don't want to do welding or do anything related to welding. So this is how I got degree in electronics, is because I wanted originally to go to food processing, but that stupid law, who came up with that? I have no idea. Like when you study, right, for engineer degree, you study, you still, it's a lot of workout for your eyes, no matter what do you study. Why they decided no food, but welding is okay to study? I have no idea, but that was the dumbest kind of thing that I ran into. But it, on the long run, it actually helped me to get a job here in America. Ideally, I should try to go for journalistics, because I was writing stories, I was keeping diaries, so I was into writing since I was like 11, 12 year old. So I should go and try for journalistics, but I was too afraid, because usually those colleges had a really high level. Like I wasn't sure I could make it. Like I should try, but my parents never bothered to push me hard. It just was like, it's up to you. You'll figure out. You smart kid. Okay. So if I would go for journalism, who knows how my life would turn, if I will get accepted. But I still managed to write a book on my own. Managed to translate this book to English on my own, so without any college degree in journalism or whatsoever. So it's all worked out in the end. But yeah, that's talking about the dumbest story, dumbest law. Um, that was the one that, hey, you have such a poor eyesight, you can be learning about welding, but you can't learn about food processing. So yeah, that was bad. Where did you travel? Okay, where did you travel during the holiday in USSR? I didn't travel too much. Unfortunately, I had no interest in traveling. The only place I wanted to go was up north, Chernihiv region, where my mom lives right now. I wanted to be in a village with my friends hanging out. I only traveled uh, one. I had to travel because of Chernobyl accident. That summer in June, I went to Leningrad, which is now St. Petersburg. And one time I went to Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. That was probably maybe winter of 87 or 88. I honestly don't remember. I need to look it up. But we went to Baku. My parents like forced me, because back then, the only really good perk of being a labor union member, you're getting this discounted travel vouchers, putyovki. And my mom got one, and she's like, okay, you go. And before I was fighting, I want to go to Moscow. I don't want to go anywhere. It's so dumb. I'm mad at myself now. But when you're a teenager, it's, I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so that was a good trip, but on the train, 2 days on the train. So that was a long um, trip, but that was my biggest trip. Otherwise, I said, I like Leningrad. Yeah, that was cool. It was a lot of to see. But we didn't live actually in Leningrad. We lived on outskirts. But my friend's grandma, she was a veteran of World War II, so she could have a pass, so we didn't have to wait in line. So we went and visited museums and stuff like that, and just kind of hanging out in Leningrad. So I like that a lot. But that was pretty cool. All right, so we got a donation from Svetlana. Thank you so much. I came across articles saying that oligarchs have fake degrees in their research, and apparently they're easy to get for $5,000, and they're put you on register. Oh yeah, I have no doubt about that. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, I mean, before that, people still could do that, but yeah, after Soviet Union went down, um, for money you could do anything, and my degree kind of, because I started college still in the Soviet Union but finished already in independent Ukraine. There was a lot of situations that I was like in charge in our group to grease the wheels. So like they were like, yeah, if you want a good score for this test, practical test, you might want to bring a couple of bottles of vodka and some snacks and leave them in this room, and then go in that room for your test. Then you want to make sure that everyone will pass. Okay, so that was my job, to go around and get money from every student. Um, and then I go purchase some vodka and snacks, set it up there in that room. Then we go to the room and do our practical tests, and then everyone gets passed. So yeah, that was it was getting bad, because those guys weren't getting paid. And everything was like delayed payment. So they like, well, if the government doesn't pay us, then students will have to pay us. So that was that way. The question: ever heard of Algeria during the Soviet times? Definitely would do. I don't remember now why. I guess Soviet Union was helping Algeria, but I can't tell you from the top of my head. You look like the actor in Die Hard movie. I guess I look like Bruce Willis. When I get a short haircut, sometimes people tell me that. I just got a haircut a couple of days ago. It's a little bit too short, but it's summer, so it's all right. Okay, so we got almost an hour. So let's see. Were there condoms in the USSR? Yes, we had condoms. It was called изделие номер два. I was too young to have a need for it. I know that everyone wanted condoms made in India. Those were like deficit, hard to get, and those supposedly were good quality. Soviet condoms were pretty kind of primitive, like not a good quality, not really thin. So they were fun to fill with water and dump it from the ninth floor of the building and watch it fly down and explode. That was really impressive. That's the only way I used the condoms in the Soviet Union, is for this type of fun. 'Cause it fits a lot of water in every condom. It's like a giant balloon, and then you just let it drop from the top of the building. Man, it's amazing. So, opinion about Brezhnev. I have a video about that too. So if you Brezhnev, I'll post the link about Brezhnev. My opinion, he stayed way too long, but let's see. This the problem with the okay. So video called "Soviet People Thoughts About Comrade Brezhnev." That's the problem with the Soviet system. That once the leader, he stays at power all the way till he dies, and because they all love those perks, they created this little world when they had their special stores. So they had grocery stores that weren't available for regular people. So all those perks, limos, special hospitals just for elite, special stores just for elite. You have all those perks while you're in the government. Once you retire, you're pretty much losing all that. So they all stayed forever. And the Brezhnev, classical example, um, he had a couple strokes. So this is the video about Brezhnev. I have 8 total. He should just, but since we never had elections, never had changing of power, those people he stayed way too long, and he had all these people around him who just wanted to stay in the system. So yeah, that's the good thing about America. I mean, I'm not happy. There's only 2 parties, and it's pretty much, you know, but at least you have some kind of change. And I mean, now we have a guy who's way too old, but he got elected, so it is what it is. But in Soviet Union, you look, Lenin stayed the leader till he died. Stalin was the leader till he died. Then Khrushchev, there was a coup, and so he got removed. Then Brezhnev till he died, Andropov till he died, Chernenko till he died, and then Brezhnev, what we got, the Gorbachev till the Soviet Union disappeared. So this is the problem. These authoritarian governments, you might do some changes when you're young, but then when you get old, you just want to keep the status quo. So that's the problem. Let's see what else we got for question. No, I don't want Soviet Union be back. I don't think it was a good idea. Once again, I have also Chernobyl video. There's a question how my name is spelled in Russian. It's Sergey with the E and the by. So there's a question, have you seen Servants of the People on Netflix? Did you like it? So the question about, so our current president of Ukraine, I almost said Zhirinovsky, oh my gosh. Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, right? He used to be like an actor, and he actually ran like a show business company, uh, Quartal 94 or 96, I don't remember the number, but so he has an entertainment company producing shows, and that's way back. And it was a Russian language shows too. So a guy from Ukraine, Jewish guy, grew up kind of, he's a little bit younger than me. So he grew up in the Soviet Union, and he was making uh, quite a bit of shows which were created not just for Ukraine, but the whole Russian speaking former Soviet Union. Like his shows were super popular in Russia. Like he had not Servants of the People, the other one. It's called like Svatavya. So that's the, in English, they don't have that word. So parents of the wife and parents of the husband, they are Svati. That's the name, how they called. But there is no word in English language, parents of wife and how they between each other there is a relation, brother sister, and there's a Svati. So he had that show which was super popular in Russia. So it was designed for the whole in Russian language. So then they made this show Sluga Naroda, once again also in Russian language, Servants of the People. I watched it not on Netflix. I watched that show on back in the day before it became popular here. I enjoyed it. I watched the whole thing. There were some episodes were boring, but it's a really good start of that show. I would recommend to watch it because that's the guy that became the president. The show is about how the average school teacher became president of Ukraine, and then he actually became a president of Ukraine, and it's a lot of it because of that show. People liked so much how good he did on TV, so they're like, "Well, we're gonna elect you as the president of Ukraine because you did so good in the show. You're probably gonna do, he fought corruption so good, but it's a movie." So of course, and then he created the political party called the Servant of the People, Sluga Naroda. So yeah, he won huge. I have a video about it too. But yeah, I would recommend anyone to watch. It's on Netflix with I'm not sure if it's just subtitles or dubbing, but it's funny. There's especially a part when he was secretly recorded. It's a show I'm talking about. Spoiler alert. So he was with his friend, another teacher, and they got into argument, and this guy was dropping F-bombs, what he would do if he would be president of Ukraine, and one of his pupils recorded on the camera, posted on social networks, and that's how he got elected as a president out of the blue. But that show, they tried to show it in Russia, but there was a really sneaky joke about Putin, and once they came to that part, they quit and they stopped showing that show because Putin huilo, Putin hublо, that joke was hilarious. Actually, let's see if I can. I'll put link just for that little short episode. Putin. So yeah, that show is if you guys are interested in it, you will see kind of like Ukraine in around 2000. So that's pretty interesting kind of thing to watch. Let's see. I'll give you this link. But yeah, that's actually I'm planning to make another video about Vladimir Zelensky. Somebody asked me what do I think now. Yep, found that too. So this is if you think about watches, right? That's the brand of the watches, but it sounds in Ukrainian how we call him, how we call Putin. So that's just a short snippet of that Putin Hublo, Putin Huilo. That was hilarious. So yeah, I'm planning to make a video what I think about Zelensky now, because I already have a video when he got elected, and I was quite skeptical. I mean, you never know. I mean, Ronald Reagan considers the best president, Saint Reagan by many people, and he was just an actor. So he did perform a lot of just acting. He knows to set up the lights properly, show this properly. So he brought a lot of Hollywood performance into White House, and people really liked it. And he considers like the best Republican president ever. Although back when he was the governor of California, he signed the bill to legalize abortion. He signed the bill to outlaw carrying open carry of loaded firearms. I mean, there's a different story why he did it. So he did a lot of this stuff that considers communist, democratic, communist agenda, but he was the one who signed those laws when he was governor of California. And then somehow he signed the law about gun owner rights in America, but part of that law, they outlaw fully automatic weapons. So I'm honestly surprised why people don't bother to dig deeper and look it up. Like, because I had these arguments, with people at work, Americans, and they're like, oh, Saint Reagan, the best president ever. Like, dude, do you know that he legalized abortions? And you're a Mormon, you're against the abortions? Like, and they look at you and flapping their eyes, like, dude, turn off the Fox News, turn Google on, start searching, so you have the whole picture. It's like it's easy. With modern technology, I don't understand why people still so like listening to the talking heads like me. It's just you can always look stuff up, double check, verify. If the person hugs American flag, doesn't make him a patriot. No, because back in the day he dodged the military service 6 times and refused to go to Vietnam because he was so patriotic that he didn't want to go and risk his life to fight for America. But oh yeah, I'm a patriot because I know how to hug American flag. It's just you need to have a critical thinking of that. Do you have a video about the names of the letters of the Russian alphabet? No, I don't think I have anything relates to Russian language. I'm not sure if it's needed. There's plenty of stuff out there, but if do you think there's actually people want me to do anything like Russian language lessons? I can probably do something like that. As the comment about dodging military service, it's both Biden and Donald Trump. They both dodged the military service, and then you look back, Bill Clinton. For some reason, draft dodgers becoming the presidents of America. They are so patriotic; they want to do their duty. They don't want to risk their life, but they will, show their patriotism by running for White House. I was actually, I looked up when Biden was running. I was like, okay, let's see. And yeah, he was doing sports in high school, but then suddenly had some health issues when it was time to get drafted. So yeah, uh, Bush Jr., his military service he didn't want to go to Vietnam. He got into the National Guard and dodged that way. So yeah, unfortunately, that's where right. So yeah, and I don't support Vietnam War either way. It's a lot of it's kind of reminds you Ukraine, but the opposite way. That's when the Soviet Union was sending weapons, sending instructors to fight Americans. And now we have the opposite way. Russia attacked Ukraine, and America now sends weapons and instructors to help them out. So it goes one way or the other. But anyway, all right. So we got about 1 hour of talking. So I'm starting losing my voice and I'm running out of water. So I want to thank you everyone for joining me. It's a great number, 59,000 subscribers. I appreciate everyone who's watching this channel. And as always, don't forget to like videos. And as I said, if you have any questions about Soviet Union, you should go on my playlist and just go down. There is so much. I mean, we have a lot of videos already. I don't know how many videos I get total, Next live will be when we reach 60,000 subscribers, which is about 950 subscribers away. And currently, my channel doesn't grow much. So everyone, enjoy your who lives in America. Happy Independence Day. I don't say happy 4th of July. I always like to catch people off guard because they're like, "Are you ready for the 4th?" Like, yeah, I'm ready for the Independence Day. So actually, a good time to watch Independence Day movie, right? So thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.